All right, it says go live. We're doing live. The temporary edit error usually happen on Twitter. What? Okay, I think we're live. It says, yeah, there we go. It says we're not live on Twitter, but we're live on YouTube. Hey, everybody, what's going on? How's
Hello.
everybody doing?
We're angry.
We're
No,
angry. I think everybody here watching knows a gentleman to
Ooh.
my left.
How's everybody doing?
Go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I think everybody knows a gentleman over here, Mr. Cody Leach. How you doing, sir?
Hello. I'm doing okay. Decent day. It was one of those funky days where like I had all these plans that I wanted to do because I already had my men review ready. I'm like, I got all day. I don't have to film anything. Like I should get some work done. And then all day I just sit there going, I should do something. What the fuck do I want to do? And then just one of those weird days.
Yeah.
Sitting down sounds shitty, but getting up sounds shitty too. And you're just stuck there going over your options for 4 hours.
Because there's so many things you have to do, right? Just like, what do I nail? Or what do I get started? I'm the same way, man.
Bad life.
Yeah, I get it, man. But thank you for joining me
today.
Thanks for joining me, dude.
No problem.
Yeah, and we're gonna vent, everybody. Everybody in the chat, hi, welcome. Appreciate everybody stopping by and hanging out with us. So I'm real, Cody. I vented the other day on a video of like, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, where's my passion for movies? And it felt organic. Like I just hit record, no edits, and I just kind of explained my frustrations about where I'm at as far as being a YouTuber and movies and things of that nature. Yeah, I thought let's continue that because I'm still bitter and pissed off about a lot of things. Oh my god, hold on. I'm like,
money.
Wow. Oh, Mohammed, thank you so much, man. Oh my god, I used to like. Thank you. A great stream ahead. Rest in peace. Of course.
Yeah,
Ray Liotta,
thank you for bringing that up because we were gonna open with that.
Yeah, Goodfellas is possibly my favorite movie of all time and possibly the greatest movie of all time to me. It's very close to my heart, and Ray contributes to that. Yeah, that's a phenomenal movie, and thank you for that. That super chat, man. Is that what it's called? Super chats?
Yes. Yes.
That's phenomenal, dude. Thank you. I'm not used to that. Thank you so much. I feel like I should sing a song for him. You know, give him his 50 bucks worth.
You for your money, motherfucker. No.
Thank you so much. But hey, what are your thoughts on Ray Liotta, man?
That was a hard one, man. Yeah, that was. I mean, it always sucks when somebody dies, but of course, it's when somebody has done some work that really means a lot to you. It always hits a lot harder. Ray Liotta's always been one of my favorite actors that have just popped up in things. Goodfellas is still probably in my top 5, certainly in my top 10, but I think it's in my top 5 too. It's my favorite gangster movie of all time. He's one of the largest reasons why. Yeah, he's just one of those actors where anytime he showed up in a movie, especially when I didn't expect him, I would immediately perk up like, oh fuck, Liotta's in this. Like he was always good. It didn't matter what the quality of the movie was. He was never the problem. He was always awesome, whether it was a mob movie, an action movie, a thriller, a comedy, like that movie Observe and Report with Seth Rogen that nobody likes and nobody talks about. It's one of my favorites. It's like a Travis Bickle version of like a mall cop. It's fucking hilarious to me, but Ray Liotta is the actual cop in it. And so that's one of my favorite roles with him too. Yeah. I want to say he was just recently in that Sopranos movie. I didn't really like the movie, so I forgot about it pretty quickly, but he's just one of those guys. Every time he shows up, I'm like, he's like Ed Harris. When Ed Harris popped up for 5 minutes in Top Gun Maverick, I was like, fucking Ed Harris is in this. This is awesome. And
spoilers.
Yeah. He's one of those guys, man. I don't know. It sucks that he was so young. I mean, 67, man. It's just, when you look at your age, I know you're even older than I am, but like I'm 30, going to be 33. And I'm like, fuck, man, that could be half my life. You know, it's just, how much more he could have given.
You know what? I will admit something. Ever since I turned 45, I have been questioning my mortality every day, which is, I think, normal for some people, because when you say Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald, Gilbert Gottfried, you know, all these singers and all these artists start dropping at late 50s, early 60s. And I'm like 45. And I'm like, I got less than 20 fucking years. I'm like, oh my God, I start freaking out, man. I'm like, I better start eating right.
Yeah.
I better like drink water, go work out, do something, man, because I'm not bullshitting. You start looking at that shit like, I got 20 years tops, maybe.
Yeah.
I better start with the fast food, man. Shit.
I'm with you, man.
It's scary. But Ray Liotta, you know, there's a few movies like you're right, because him and Bill Paxton for me were always those actors. When they showed up, I just smiled.
Yeah,
because you knew you were going to get a great performance. Ray Liotta, of course, Goodfellas is that. There's one I love him in that movie Copland. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yes.
The cast
Yes.
in that fucking film is better than The Outsiders. Everyone says The Outsiders is the greatest casting ever. I say Copland is one of the best casted films ever, and I love his portrayal of that cop in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love him in Heartbreakers with my. He's playing that one
Oh
guy.
yeah, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, for Jennifer Love Hewitt. My God, that movie.
I
Jesus,
can't do
man.
this. I can't do this. I love her. Fuck it. They just go.
Yeah. That's how much I love you, baby. You know,
that's a really underrated comedy. Nobody
Yeah.
talks about that. And that's a really funny movie.
And they should for the lovely Miss Hewitt, of course. And I think that's Gene Hackman's last movie. I don't think he was in anything after that.
It could be.
I can't recall.
Could be.
And what was that Ray Liotta movie where he was on that island? It was like a prisoner camp.
No Escape.
That's one of my favorites as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's an underrated film as well, man. So, yeah, my condolences to the Liotta family, and he was one of the best, man. He'll be missed.
Yeah,
definitely will be missed, man. But thank you so much for that tip, that super chat. That's unfreaking believable, man. I'm not used to that, but I thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Cody, I vented. And it felt good. And it's funny because part of the things I was venting about was views. And like I said, when I went to YouTube, I didn't go for the views or to get 1 million subscribers. I wanted to perfect the art of storytelling. That was really my goal to go on YouTube, to tell a coherent story and for people to understand where I was coming from. And I thought with that, the views and the subs will come later. So, getting 1 million was never my top priority.
Yeah.
But as the years go on and things like that, you start looking at some of your work and hey, that was really good. Why didn't it take off? And here's this video. I just hit record and it's doing better than anything I've done in quite some time, which it's funny how YouTube works. And I guess
Always
for the audience
works out that way.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's the authenticity, and everyone said you kept it 100. So I guess when they see that, they feel, okay, he's being serious. He's not putting on a character. He's being himself. So I think that's what maybe connected with people.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So anyway, I felt good. So I thought, let's vent some more. I got plenty of things to bitch about.
Yeah, me too. Do it again next week. I have a new list.
Let's do it. Let's do it. And
fucking we'll get Orlando drivers.
Oh yeah, so that's right. Tell us about that real quick, man. Come on, you just can't tell the story. What happened?
Oh my God. Okay, so for those that don't know, me and Sean Chandler last weekend on Friday, we drove up to Orlando because Sean had organized this panel that he's been doing in now at this point across the country, awesome. Where he teaches people how to create and grow a YouTube channel, and he invited me to come along for this one. And so we went up to Orlando for MegaCon last weekend. And when we drove up on Friday, it's about a 4-hour and change drive, 4 hours, 15 minutes from where I live. And the first 3.5 hours, man, just smooth sailing, just 95, wind in your hair, music, conversation, everything's good, no traffic. And then you get to Orlando and it just went to shit. I mean, everybody in Orlando, it might be just Florida. I don't want to pick on Orlando, but pretty much I experienced it in Orlando. People lay on their fucking horns for everything. And you never hear horns in Georgia. And Sean said you never hear them in Texas either. So it was just like the whole time we're like, what the fuck are they honking at? What is going on? I drive a Silverado 1500. So it's a, decent sized truck. And so, I got to be more cognizant of people around me. And you try to get over, like you could have 3 car lengths to get over. And as soon as you flick that blinker, the person in the left lane's like, you're not fucking Pat. And it's that kind of stuff. And so that was bad enough where we just, felt like we were risking our lives just to get to the last 5 miles to the hotel. But what prompted my little impromptu rant video at 5 o'clock in the morning on Sunday, I had woke up at like 4:45 or whatever to drop Sean off at the airport, and I was just going to drive straight home from there. And I shit you not, I dropped him off right about 5 o'clock. Between 5 and 5:10, I almost got in a wreck 3 times. And you think that early in the morning, there's not nearly as many drivers. It should be safer. And everybody I was near must have been like on their 15th hour of driving or something, because people were like veering into my lane and about ready to hit me from the side and, cutting me off at certain. And so I just got pissed and was just like, fuck this. And so I turned the camera on. It was just like, all you motherfuckers in here can't drive, or whatever I said. But yeah, so that was just for as many bad drivers as there are out there. I haven't been all across the country, but Orlando, you hold the crown right now for worst drivers that I've experienced. So.
Yeah. And I messaged Cody after I saw it because I was laughing my ass off because when someone big YouTuber visits a city, usually you get
Thank you,
the
Orlando.
story.
Thank you,
Orlando,
for
thank
having
you
me.
so much. Pleasure to meet every single one of you. Had a wonderful time. Can't wait to come back. Thank you so much. And you posted, you are the worst fucking drivers. I'm like, this guy.
That's
He
my
just pissed
style, baby.
everybody off.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having me, you non-driving fucks.
Oh man, so that was pretty funny. All right, so let me go to the first thing I'm going to vent about, and I just want to share my screen real quick so you can see a visualization on what that is, and that's this fucker here, this guy.
Oh.
No shade. Again, let me kind of be clear on why I dislike this guy, and it's not him personally; it's what he represents. And his name is Soups. He's 20 years old. He's really huge right now with reactions and DC Marvel movies, and he's got these over the top insane reactions, which I don't know if I told you, Cody, I have a mutant power of reading body language, and I know when YouTubers are faking reactions.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
I have that power too.
oh yeah, it's pretty damn obvious. And what pisses me off about this is because he's 20, which means he was 10 when Iron Man came out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this kid represents really the new generation of quote unquote movie critics,
Mm-hmm.
which are solely, what they grew up with. These Marvel films are great, they're fun, but in their mindset, this is storytelling. This is how a movie should be made. And it's totally incorrect because 90% of these films are pretty much garbage, man. It's created like a cult fan base that accepts mediocre storytelling and retelling of the same damn story. And it also has created like this cult where if anything goes outside the formula of what they like, they
Multiverse of
reject it.
Madness.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange, but the fact that I saw so many MCU fans just hating on this film, I just didn't register me. But like, oh, they've been conditioned for 10 something years to think that one certain way of storytelling is the way to go. So
Makes
any
me
other
like
narrative,
the movie even more, honestly.
What's that?
Makes me like the movie even more, honestly.
I know.
I'm like, oh, you're gonna hate on it? Fuck you. It's in my top 5.
I know. And it's created just a fan base of just people that accept a certain formula. Any other narrative or any other way of telling a story is rejected by them, or they say it sucks, or they just dismiss it, or say it's boring. They are crack addicts in a sense. They're dopamine crack addicts because, let's face it, Endgame portal scene, I will admit, that was the epitome of any pop culture event of all time.
Yes.
We all waited 10 years for this. Think about it like prolonged, holding out and not just going off with your woman, right? Just prolonging the joy, what I'm trying to say.
We were edged for 10 years.
We were edged. Thank you. We were edged for 10 years. So Portal shows up.
Sorry,
everyone's back. Everyone's just jizzing all over the screen. We're like, oh, this is fucking amazing. I was too. It was fun. But now everybody in this fan base, all these critics, all these reaction people, they're wanting to replace that event, and they can't.
Yeah.
They can't. It's never going to happen again. I'm sorry. I don't care what the fuck Feige does for Phase 20. That scene, that feeling you had is never going to happen again. And the fact that they're just nitpicking and just unhappy with the cameos that you're seeing, all the tweets, and all of them are just saying it's not the same. They need to do this to save the MCU, and they do a fucking Photoshop of like Hugh Jackman and Spider-Man and the Hulk from Eric Bana. It's just nonsensical, and it's a fan base that really just rules the market, because this fan base, in my opinion, is what ended the Amazing Spider-Man films with Andrew Garfield. That fan base hated that Spider-Man wasn't going to the MCU, and they did all they can with campaigns and tweets and just negative hearsay to end that franchise, and they did. And Sony just renegotiated terms, and now we had Spidey in the MCU. That made them happy. So the power of that fan base is beyond measure, and the fact that they're conditioned in a certain way, it pisses me off. So I'm gonna stop for a second and let you go ahead.
I mean, the proof, we're just talking about Multiverse of Madness, and even though I like this casting, whenever it showed, spoiler alert for anybody that has not seen Multiverse of Madness and has avoided Twitter for the last fucking year, whenever John Krasinski showed up as Mr. Fantastic, that was Twitter casting.
I
That
didn't
was
know that.
Twitter's favorite. That was the fan casting that was tweeted around and photoshopped for over a year. And when he showed up, I'm like, I never really saw the MCU do that before, to where you always have fan casting. You always have somebody that you could picture. Like I could picture Tom Hardy as Wolverine, or something like that.
Yeah.
But most of the time, the people that are cast in the movie know better than we do, because they know what fucking movie they're going to make. We just know the character, what he's supposed to look like, or some shit like that. I mean, shit. Back in the day when Hugh Jackman was casted, everybody fucking hated it. They're like, this guy who's 6 feet tall, you can't
Mhm.
be Wolverine,
And he
bitch.
was
And then
skinny
that,
too.
yeah.
Like
And
the first one.
nowadays, we can't imagine anybody but Hugh Jackman. So I mean, that was one of those moments where I kind of hinted at it in my review, to where I was like, it kind of felt the first time where I felt like the MCU was kind of pandering to Twitter a little bit, to where even though I like John Krasinski as an actor and I would be totally fine with him continuing that role, he only got that because Twitter said so.
Yeah.
And so that was an example of that. Yeah, I'm completely unaware of Soups before the drive to Orlando. So me and Sean were driving, and he's like, hey, whenever me and Austin drove to Philadelphia for this last one, we spent like the entire 10-hour car ride just making fun of Soups and some other Twitter guy, Blu-ray Angel or something like that. And I was like, I'm unfamiliar with these people. And so he was just reading me tweets, and I think he only got like 5 or 6 of them. And I was like, wow, like he represents, like, you're kind of honing in on the MCU fan base and everything like that, which is pretty valid for the most part. But like, what I have more of an issue with is because I see it a lot more, is that he's a part of this film Twitter where
Yes.
oh, shut up, evil Alex. No, anyway, he's part of this film Twitter thing, to where you get these people that are fanboys, or what's the word, shills or something like that.
Chills.
They just
Posers.
manufacture these weird tweets, these takes, or these, things just to get retweeted. And that's
Yep.
all it's about. It's, there's a whole side of Twitter. It's like, are we ready to admit that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the greatest cinematic achievement? And it's just manufactured to get fans of that particular fan base or of that movie to retweet the fuck out of your tweet, or get people that think you're an idiot to retweet it because they want to argue with you. And so you basically just become a hype man.
Yeah.
And that's
That's all you are.
kind of what Sean Chandler kind of pretexted this little car ride looking at these tweets is like, these are the hype man, and these are people that have literally been invited to the premieres of these movies because
Yep.
they get people hyped up on Twitter for stupid shit.
Yep.
And just before, this is an example. Just before we went live, I was actually on Twitter, and somebody was, I only see the guy getting retweeted to be made fun of, but there was a Soups tweet, and I guess it was the scene where Luke Skywalker CGI face showed up in Mandalorian season 2.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is the most beautiful scene in Star Wars history, changed my mind. And that's that whole side of Twitter, man, where it's just like,
Yeah.
there's nothing insightful about what you're saying. There's nothing clever. There's nothing educational about it. There's nothing valuable about it. It's just there to hype up a certain fan base that are like complete addicts,
Yes.
and piss off everybody else just to get your name floating around Twitter, regardless what side is spreading around your shit.
Yeah.
And I can't stand that. I call out, quote unquote film Twitter all the time on Twitter, where I'm just like, can you fuckers do anything else? Like, and you see some of them too, where like they're so well known in the fan base for
Mm-hmm.
being like these, online figures.
Yeah.
And then you go to their YouTube channel, and they don't have a YouTube channel. They just guest on other people's shit.
Yep.
And they just sit there and don't say anything. Like, you can tell they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. You can tell they have nothing to offer.
Yep.
But they can sit there and think of something edgy to post on fucking Twitter to get people to just churn it out like, hotcakes. And
Yeah.
that whole version of what we do is just sickening to me, because not that I'm the best at it, but there's a lot of fucking effort in the things that we do.
Yeah.
You have to know your shit. You got to edit. You got to do all this production and everything like that. Like, I can sit there and say stupid shit on Twitter all day long if that's all you need me to do. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And you know what? Going back to again, I'm not throwing shade at him, but I'm throwing shade at what he represents.
hmm
Again, when people say they're film critics, I used to go ahead. Okay, so this person's well aware about screenplays, film editing,
yeah, they're educated.
acting, set design, cinematography, lighting. everything, because that's what makes a film. But when cameos are what you see and it's masterpiece, it's like,
Yeah.
come on, dude. So the word film critic is not really, there's
A lot
not
of that
many of
is
them out there anymore, is
a
what
lot
I'm
of that
saying.
is Rotten Tomatoes' fault.
Yeah, I would agree.
And again, full disclosure, I was denied access to Rotten Tomatoes. So if you want to say I'm bitter, there's probably a little bit of truth to that. But there is a lot of truth to the fact that Rotten Tomatoes, once they decided to not have educated or people with, a degree in film journalism or people that
Yeah,
have had a long time in the industry as those that represent their little tomato meter that is now the fucking end all be all of what movies
it's
succeed.
bullshit. Yeah.
Now they just go out and figure out who's got social media followings. I mean, there's people that I know, and good for them. This is not a shade on them. There's people that I know that have a very, very small following, but it's such a specific following. They've actually gotten reached out to by Rotten Tomatoes saying, "Come and join us." And they have like a 30th of the following that some of
Wow.
people that I know that have been denied. And there's some people that I know that are uh-oh. There's some
Uh,
people that I know that are
Go ahead.
very well educated
Mm-hmm.
that, do film essays and things like they put me to shame
Mm-hmm.
that get denied because
Yeah.
they don't have a following. They don't have a crowd behind them. And that's the people that have these fucking scores now, to where you see that that's what everybody looks for now. And that kind of it goes into a point I'm going to make later. But that's what everybody looks at now. Nobody goes into a movie to give it a chance anymore.
No.
Well, I won't say nobody, but there's a mass of people that don't. They look at Rotten Tomatoes and they judge off of that. Or, everybody has that little tomato meter trailer that they do. We got 97%. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but all of the reviews were like 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know how Rotten Tomatoes works. They see it like a test score, and it's like 100 doesn't mean your movie's fucking awesome. It means that 100% of people thought it was 3 out of 5 or better.
Yeah. And also, like you said, Rotten Tomatoes, these hype guys, what they're doing is they're putting their data and their reactions, because everything. I love this by Evil Alex here. The internet is about extremes now. Something is the best thing ever made or the worst thing ever made. I totally agree with that. The word
Hmm.
masterpiece is used way too often nowadays. It makes
As
me
is
sick.
garbage.
Or it's garbage, or it's mid, like the kids say, or it's trash. It makes me
Oh,
want to
stop
vomit in my
making
mouth.
terms.
But it's created that atmosphere where films aren't really based on the actual quality of the filmmaking. They're based on popularity.
Hmm.
And that's really it. And the studios know this. That's why they're giving these guys like Mr. Pendejo Soups here, like free access. And again, I'm not hating on him. It's a hustle. And he identified the hustle to
Yeah.
get to where he's
We don't
at.
hate the
So
player, we hate the game.
yeah, that's exactly it. So I admire him in a sense, but I can't stand what he is,
Yeah.
because I know for a fact he's faking most of those reactions. And I know some YouTubers that, not here in you, Cody, but there's some YouTubers that I know that are fake it. You know how I can
Hmm.
tell? You know what the one giveaway is? When they repeat what they say on screen. Because when you first watch a reaction, dude, there's so many things going on. Your mind's just trying to figure out. But when you start describing what you're seeing on screen, it's like
Hmm.
your brain can't register that so fast. Come on, dude. Shut up. You
Yeah,
saw it already.
not scratching your back, but like your reaction when that Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City trailer came out is
Yeah.
like the only like really excited reaction
Yes.
I've ever seen that I could tell was 100% genuine. And it's because the instant images came up, you were like, "Ah, yes!" Like just the fanboy I could tell came out when
Yes.
you could, like you said, there's little tells where
Yes.
they almost like prepare, they shift in their seat
Ooh,
because they know the fucking X-Wing's about to come through or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
And
Oh, there's the Mandalorian. There's Luke Skywalker. Oh, there's Yoda. Like, shut up. No one does
yeah.
that while they're watching a reaction. Shut the fuck up. Sorry. So
Mhm.
anyway, I know when they're manufactured, but again, it's just that's what is success. That's what gets attention. That's what gets you the accolades. That's what gets you the access. And I hate what
Mhm.
that represents, because it's not really a critique of filmmaking, or judging the film based on all the attributes. Like I remember when
Mhm.
Spider-Man No Way Home came out, everyone was saying it should be nominated for Best Picture. I'm like, motherfuckers, what about editing, screenplay, cinematography, set design,
Yeah.
all these directing? There's nothing there other than the popularity and hype. I mean, take your fucking fan glasses off.
Look, I love the MCU.
Yes,
I've not seen a single MCU film that I would say needs to be nominated for Best Picture.
I agree, man. I agree.
And I'm saying that as a fan. Like like Winter Soldier might be my favorite comic book movie, period. I
Mhm.
don't even think that deserves Best Picture. Like that's just the echelon that very, very few comic book movies have reached, and the it might be a negative stigma, but I feel like movies that are really deep with what they're saying, or like I wouldn't even necessarily say the Batman deserves a nomination, but something more like the Batman is what I would look for.
Yeah.
And that's not a DC versus Marvel thing, but just a movie that's deeper, a movie that has themes, that's
Story.
exploring things and story, and there's masterful filmmaking, not just, man, that was a fucking fun ride. Because,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'm with you. Endgame, I probably will die and say that Endgame was my greatest theater experience of all time.
Me too.
Doesn't mean it's the greatest movie of all time or it deserves every award ever. It was just, that was a movie that manufactured the greatest crowd reaction I've ever experienced. And
Yeah.
I don't think we're ever going to see that again. We might.
No, I honestly don't think we'll ever experience that momentum, because again, 10 years of edging, like we said,
Mhm.
and just to have everything just come to perfection. Again, I applaud the MCU, Kevin Feige, for making it coherent, even
Mhm.
though there's tons of loopholes in that film. I mean, it
Mhm.
was a fun experience, and I will take it to my grave, but it's never going to happen again, dude. It's never
Yeah.
going to happen again. So that's what I have to say for my first topic. So what annoys you, dude? I feel good though. I feel
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. You're getting there. My first one, and I don't think anybody in this chat is probably going to be somebody that needs to be educated on this, but hopefully some people will see it. Can we stop saying that they don't make any original films anymore? Can we stop having that stupid ass fucking argument that nobody can back up with actual logic or facts? I hear that or I see it in a comment every time I talk about a sequel, or I made a video a couple of weeks ago about top 10 horror franchises that need a reboot, and there was
Mhm.
probably 3 dozen. We don't need more reboots. Need more original stuff. And I want to reach out of the fucking phone and just grab these people and be like, "Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once? Did you see The Northman? Did you
Mhm.
see Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent? Did you see Men? Did you see any of these movies that we get every fucking week that are an original story? Oh no, you're saving your money for fucking Captain Marvel 2? Okay, shut the fuck up. I can't stand when people say that.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're there. Hollywood is out of ideas. No, Hollywood is a business. And
Yep.
even more so now after 2020 happened, the theater experience is going to be geared much more towards big event films like the MCU, like Top Gun Maverick, like
Yeah.
Jurassic World Dominion, and all these smaller films are going to start going straight to streaming because nobody fucking sees them. You know how many
Exactly.
people were in my theater to see Men? And I'm not praising the movie. I didn't like it. Me.
That's it. Just
You know,
you.
me. You know how many people
Yeah.
were in the theater to see Everything Everywhere All at Once?
5 for me.
There was 4 people when I saw it. By the time the movie was halfway over, it was me. and so and that's a common thread. You go to something like Top Gun, you go to something like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you go to something like Shang-Chi, and you're going to have to buy your tickets a week in advance. You go to see something that's an original film, you could walk in 5 fucking minutes before it starts and you will find any seat in the theater available for you to choose.
Yep.
And it's often those people that are holding that argument to the chest like it's this, this huge bullet in their gun to end any argument that they decide to walk into. Like Hollywood just doesn't make any. No, they make plenty of original films. There's more original films being made nowadays than ever before. But nowadays we live in the time where people only go to the theaters for the big, gigantic
That's
roller
it.
coaster rides.
That's it. Yep.
And if you only like those types of movies, that's perfectly fine. If you don't get into the A24 films, you don't get into things like The Northman, you actually just want to watch movies to be thrilled for 2 hours, that's fine. But don't turn around and try to tell somebody that knows a fuck of a lot more than you about what Hollywood does or what Hollywood doesn't do. And like even for the example I gave with the 10 horror franchises that need a reboot, I'm not saying that we only need reboots. I'm not saying that we don't need original horror movies. But these are properties that get money and they have fan bases for a reason because we fucking love the idea or the character or the world or something. And there's never not going to be a demand for that. You're never going to ask the horror community, are we at the point where we don't need any more Halloween films? And you're never going to have that horror community say, yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah.
45 movies in, I think we're good. It's never going to happen. I get just as excited. I mean, what's the movie that you and I have been geeking out about more this year than anything else? X.
X.
Totally original slasher, totally
Mhm.
original idea. And that's a movie that you had to force on people. Like, you have to
Mhm.
watch this. Like, I posted a picture the other day. It was the Batman and X
I saw
and the
that.
Blu-rays that I got. And I was like, the 2 best movies of the year the same day.
Yeah.
And every single comment just about was either agreeing with me or saying they've never heard of X or they should check X out. But there's not a single person that's like, oh shit, there's a new Batman movie. And so that's something that, like, I've been hearing that argument even before I was on YouTube, and it used to piss me off because it's just one of those things where people say it, but they don't understand where
Mhm.
the phrase came from or what it actually meant. That's like when people used to say Metallica sucked after they cut their hair, and it's like,
Well, that's true.
name.
I
It was
have
you
load and
started
reload,
it.
all right?
Yeah.
Saint Anger sucks, though.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yes. You'll never get any. Yes, absolutely. But anyway, it's just like that. Metallica sucked after they did it. Like, okay, name 2 Metallica songs that aren't on the Black Album.
Yeah,
Oh, exactly.
exactly, man.
And so that's one of the biggest things that I see comments of that I just want to fucking like strangle people. Like, what the fuck? Do you
Yeah.
even watch movies? Shut the fuck up.
Well, and you know what? I always tell, like, you're right, because when I saw Nightmare Alley, the girlfriend and I went and saw Nightmare Alley back in December. Guillermo del Toro. It's a well directed film, and I love his movies. I go, there's only like 8 people in the theater, and it flopped. It flopped in the theaters, but Spider Man made what, $2 billion.
Yeah.
If I'm a
In its
producer,
sleep.
let's say you and I, we won the lotto. You had a $10 million, and you know what? I want to start making some money.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna make movies. So you're gonna invest in a movie that you know is gonna get a return, and that's where these studios are at. Because again, the audience is telling them what we want to see, and it's Marvel movies, it's superhero movies, and yet the movie loving audience, outside of that fan base, and this fan base, what is it? It's people like uh like this fucker here. And it's families who want to take their kids so they can shut up for 2 hours and just have a good time because they know what these movies are fun.
Mhm.
They're not going to make their kids have nightmares, and they're going to have a good time.
Yeah.
So that's what that fan base is for. But the film loving fans like us who love X and all that, we're not going to get those films. We're not.
Mhm.
So it's a shame, and that's again another item why I don't. I think comic book movies have really just destroyed Hollywood, man. Because if you look at like the top 10 in any year of the 1990s, you had The Usual Suspects, you had Seven, you had all these original films,
Mhm.
hardly any remakes, and those made money. It was pretty cool back in the day. This is the old man talking, to go to a theater and see variety.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is okay. We got choices, but now it's just all superhero movies and things like that. So it's a shame, dude. And I totally agree with what you said.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, I mean, there is the truth that when they make these big movies that make $2-3 billion, that's how they fund all these little tiny independent movies too. So they all kind of work together. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
So there is good to it to a certain extent, that they know that they can put $200 million into a Spider-Man movie and make 50 times their return in their sleep, and then they can produce all these other little smaller movies and not worry about not making a profit.
Yeah. And you know what else I attribute this? It's attention spans. Because
Mhm.
again, I'm gonna go my old man rant right now.
Mr.
I
TikTok.
love Star Trek. I know, 45. No. I love Star Trek, and I grew up on the old movies, with Captain Kirk, Spock. I'm talking like William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy,
Mhm.
and Wrath of Khan is one of my favorite movies of all time. I still cry to this day where he's like, "You will always and shall be. I've always been and shall be your friend." The
Mhm.
whole death scene with Spock at the end, I cry. But
Mhm.
I'll admit this, I love the new Star Trek movies, all 3
I
of
do
them.
too.
They're
I do
fucking
too.
awesome.
Yeah.
And when I got the girlfriend into Star Trek, right? So, hey, let's watch the new ones first, then we'll go back to the old ones. So we saw Into Darkness, with the remake of Wrath of Khan. The pacing is just so fucking nonstop. I mean, it starts
Mhm.
off right away with an action sequence, and then you go back and watch the ones from '82, and it's a slow pace
Oh, yeah.
story, and it takes its time. And that type of film, that type of screenplay won't work in today's audiences, man. I mean, it just Transformers. When I was a kid, it was one story, one 22-minute story.
Mhm.
Nowadays, cartoons are like 8 minutes. SpongeBob was 2 episodes.
Mhm.
So the audience attention span is not what it used to be.
Mhm.
And it's just that storytelling is just so fast now. Where am I going with this? Attention spans suck.
Mhm. I mean, you even see it when you make YouTube videos and everything like that. Like, if you make it too long, you'll see the drop off. If you don't have enough flashing, images or movie clips in the first minute and a half, people drop off. If you have long stretches where you're talking and not having visual, attention grabbers, people will drop off. So it bleeds into even what we do to a certain extent.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why, like, you have to grab them, right? The first 5 seconds of the video, you have to grab them before they go off. And I've never been good at that because I thought they're going to stay and listen to what I say. That ain't going to happen. Let's go to some comments real quick. Renegade Hero says, so really hot take. Yes, I think the Star Trek trilogy is better than that bullshit Star Wars trilogy that came out. From a narrative standpoint, acting, it's better.
It's certainly a lot more cohesive. Certainly a lot more cohesive. Yeah, I like Star Trek Into Darkness. I think they shot themselves in the foot a little bit with trying to play coy that they were doing Khan, because everybody knew they were doing Khan. They're like, no, we're not doing Khan. And then he shows up and he's like, I'm Khan. And we're like, yeah, no shit, bitch. But it's still a really fun blockbuster. I don't think that they needed to do that. I think they could have went their own way and not remade the most popular Star Trek movie, but I still have fun with it.
Funny story. When I was a kid, me and my friends we used to sneak into the theater, and there's this movie called Flowers in the Attic. Oh, it's about flowers. They're probably killing people, and there are flowers in the attic. So we sneak in and we walked out like, that sucked. It was totally not what we thought. It's not a horror movie. It's not a horror. It's a drama. We're like, what the fuck are we watching here?
The fuck did you bring me to?
Just my opinion, studios should take more risks more than ever. Of course, they want to bet on a state project, but should investing in more original movies. I think A24 is doing a great job with that, though. I will give them that.
You have to take your own personal feelings out of it and understand that somebody is gambling their money on that. So just like Rudy's analogy earlier, if I told you, hey, you've got $1,000 in the bank, let's bet it on something. Table A, 95% sure thing you're going to make a profit. But this game over here looks like it's a lot more fun, but there's like a 15% chance. You're not going to bet on that fucking table if it's your money. You're never going to do that. And so as a business, I get it.
Yeah, I totally do, man. Let's see. He's 100% right. That's why cartoons went from 22 minutes to 15 minutes to 11 minutes. It all started 20 years ago when Adult Swim and people studied it when it was in college. Oh, see, there you go, man. There you go.
Another super chat.
Where? Oh, all right, Chris. That Pantera is in Sonic. Did I read that right? I live in a day that Pantera is in Sonic.
You didn't see Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
No.
Okay, there's a sequence with Pantera's walk in it.
90s Pantera.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought Pantera, really is that like Knuckles, or who's Pantera?
It's actually Jim Carrey. He whenever he gets into his gigantic like mech Robotnik or whatever, and he's going towards the city, he's inside of it, and he's like and going towards them. And
Anyway, Chris, you're the man. Thank you so much. You're talking to me. Okay. Right. Let's see. One more comment here. Right. That's way too long in a theater. I feel like 3 hours. Okay. Sorry, I missed it there. Okay. So down next, my number 2 item. And again, I've kind of meshed all three into these two. But the next thing that really grinds my gears, man, and I think it's been exhausted, it's a teat that we've milked and there's nothing left, is nostalgia. I'm done with it. I am so done with it, man. I think it's a gimmick and ploy just to get us in the heartstrings and get us vested in another bullshit product. The biggest manipulation I've seen has been in 2 films. I am not a fan of the Star Wars film. The Force Awakens, I saw it 8 times. I love the fun, the excitement. I love what it's set up. And I remember The Last Jedi, I walked out pissed and said, fuck you, Disney. I'm done with you. And I remember, what are they going to do for the 3rd one? And I remember the Rise of Skywalker trailer came out, and the first trailer they released was a 4-minute trailer, but the first 3 minutes was a montage of all the old films. I'm talking from The New Hope all the way down to Revenge of the Sith. And I remember watching it, and I filmed a reaction. I was getting pissed. I go, fucking Disney. They're manipulating you. They're pulling on your nostalgic heartstrings to get you vested in this shit movie. And that's what it was. It was a shit movie that made no damn sense because they didn't plan it. And I remember just being mad at that. Like, don't you see it, you fools? Look around you. Like, don't you see it? And they're crying. I'm like, don't fucking cry.
You got the glasses from They Live. Put the fucking glasses on.
Look, it's as clear as day. Dude, it pissed me off, man. And everybody's just, oh God, it's the greatest thing ever. I'm like, because they fucking manipulated you with
Mhm.
old shit. It's like you're in that toxic relationship and she's bitter and just destroying your life. And she's right when you're about to break up, babe, you remember when we were happy? You remember back then?
Remember how
And she's
great the
pulling
sex
at your
was?
fucking heartstrings, man.
Yeah.
So that's what Disney's doing. So it pissed me off, man. And okay, let me calm down. But nostalgia is just a tool just to get us dads now who grew up in the 90s and 80s to take our fucking kids to the theater to
Mhm.
re-experience those films. As much as I love Ghostbusters, I the nostalgia and the fan service and all that, it serves its purpose, but if it's done in portions, if it's
Mhm.
overdone like Rise of Skywalker when giving Chewie a fucking medal,
Mhm.
that's when I just okay, we're done. I can't fucking sit here. I got to get out of here. I just had to get out of here, dude. So nostalgia is just it served its purpose. And I hate the fact, and I'm gonna get a little emotional here. I hate the fact that nothing feels special to me anymore.
Mm.
Star Wars, when I was a kid, and I was telling Cody this, everybody, via like a voice chat the other day. Star Wars at one point was something special. Back in the 80s, no one had this on tape. You
Mhm.
couldn't just hit a couple buttons and see it on TV. It was a idea. Did you see it? Oh my God. The only way you can see Star Wars was at the theater if they were re-releasing it. That's the only
Mhm.
way. So it was this beautiful idea. You could pretend and play about it and tell stories. All this shit. It was special. And then it just got more corporatized, and now it's just a fucking money making machine that Disney's using. They're
Product.
making theme parks. They're not even utilizing the old franchise. They're making these old. They're making it's all focused on their new products.
Mhm.
They have like a hotel now that's $6,000 for 2 nights. That's shit.
Ugh.
It's now a fucking product, man. It's not fun. It's
Mhm.
not fun anymore. And the same thing with comic book movies. The heroes that I used to draw as a kid in the 80s, because we were poor. So I had a comic and I would draw these guys on pencil, on paper, these heroes. I would imagine these battles and things like that. Now it's so overdone and oversaturated that nothing's special to me no more. And I hate that feeling, man, because like, am I dead inside? I don't know. I still get goosebumps every now and then when something original hits me, but I just hate that what once was special to me and gave me goosebumps and chills is now over. It's milked. It's done, man, because of nostalgia, because they know it can take money. So that's my take on nostalgia.
Yeah, I was talking today. It was on Twitter. Somebody, I think it was David Jaffe, was going back and forth with somebody about nostalgia, and I had said something along the lines of nostalgia is a beautiful thing when it's healthy. Like
Yes.
most of our favorite movies, video games, songs, whatever it is rooted in nostalgia. It's something that we have this long lasting relationship with. We have these memories with. We remember what it was like seeing it as a kid or experiencing it as a kid, where even if on paper it's not the best thing in the world or it hasn't aged, whatever, it never really matters because we have that nostalgia for it. And that's the awesome part of nostalgia.
Yeah.
The toxic part of nostalgia is where you get people, and this is going a very different direction from what you were talking about it.
Okay.
The toxic part of nostalgia is where people can't acknowledge that it's nostalgia that's guiding their opinion.
Yeah.
When they get
Yes.
pissed off at people about, you don't value this the same way that I do. You're just a millennial or whatever buzzword they throw out. You didn't grow up with it like I do, so you're wrong. And it's like, well, that's the whole thing with generations, right? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't take anything away from Terminator 2 if somebody that was born in 2015 watches it and goes, that was okay. It's not as good as Captain Marvel or
Yeah.
something like that. Like you hear those words and you're like, what the fuck? But you have to understand it sometimes. Like there's movies sometimes where I watch them for the first time that came out in the 80s, an old slasher movie or something. I watch it and I go, all you see is the flaws. You see how it aged. You see how that might have been cool or unique or something, really brand new back in the day. And nowadays you're like, I've seen like 75 movies that do this thing now. And people don't tend to acknowledge that nostalgia is awesome, but it also is a very powerful thing. Like I had, and I know the jury is out. You have not seen it yet, but I had made the statement on my thumbnail that Top Gun Maverick is better than the original. And I prefaced that in my review by saying, I've never been a huge fan of the original. I'm not
Mhm.
somebody that has nostalgia for it. I wasn't a teenager in my 20s or 30s in the 80s when it came out. I wasn't in the military, and all these reasons why people love the original for the most part. And so I make it clear what position I'm coming from. And I still had a couple people, they're like, it's not better than the original, not even close. And I even
Yeah.
asked one guy, and I said, explain why without nostalgia. Yeah,
Right.
and he goes, it's just one of my favorite movies ever. I love it. It's just never going to touch. I'm like, yeah, that's nostalgia. There's nothing wrong with that. Of course. There's
Yeah.
never going to be a Terminator movie that I love more than the second one. There's never going to be a Die Hard movie that I love more than the first one. And a lot of that is nostalgia.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how it can swing people's passion one way or the other. You know, like there's
Or blind them.
yeah, like when Sean was staying here back in March, we watched The Lost Boys, and that was the first time he'd ever seen it before. It's a movie that,
Really?
yeah, it's a movie
No.
that often competes for my favorite horror film of all time, and it's because I watched the shit out of it as a kid. I have
Mhm.
all these memories, all this love for it because it's just been a movie that has been around and in my life for so long. He watched it for the first time, and he's like, "Yeah,
It was all right.
it was fun." You know, yeah, I don't get why it's your favorite movie, and I'm like, "That's fine,
Yeah.
totally understand that."
Mhm. Same could be said for me for Flash Gordon. It's
Yeah.
cheesy as hell, but that's the first movie my dad ever took me, and I love it to this day. It's one of my favorite films. But again, nostalgia because of the moment. Like you said, you grow up, you're seeing it with friends, maybe a parent or somebody, and you just have those wonderful memories. So
Yeah.
absolutely. This has got to be the greatest comment I've ever seen. Check this out, dude.
Hmm.
Who is the guy with Cody?
It's your fucking channel.
It's my fucking battle, dude. Come on.
Well, at least he followed it up with a compliment.
Thanks, man. His opinions are spot on like a sniper rifle. Oh, thank you, man. Well, Eric,
You're getting
DEF CON.
CP used to have this inside joke all the time where he would call himself the other guy.
Yeah, I
It's
am
like
the other guy.
Cody
Oh,
and the other guy. And
oh, hey, Doug, 85_VA. Thank you for the super chat, man.
this is a good example. Good example he's got here.
Michael Keaton in new Flash movie. Nostalgia. Shaking my head. It needs to die like Michael Myers. Evil dies tonight.
Look, even without the controversy surrounding Ezra Miller, does anybody genuinely give a fuck that the Flash is in the Flash movie? We're all going to see Batman.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I
for
kind
the
of
most
do.
part.
I mean, I wasn't a fan of Flash with the Joss League, but ever since the Snyder in that whole reverse time scene, dude, where I was crying in fucking Sean's living room, like, oh my god, it's beautiful. I wish why didn't I record that reaction, man? I should have done that. I was like that one guy crying over the Star Wars trailers. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Stop faking it. You've already seen it.
Yeah, but speaking of nostalgia, I want to show you something real quick. Our
Mhm.
colleague, 1 Minute Critic, he posted this, and it's a screenshot or like an image they released to show Indiana Jones
Mhm.
is coming out, and I just put Harrison Ford is in his 80s. Let it go. I'm done with it. You see, that's another franchise, man, to me that again I hold dear. I grew up with these films. I remember seeing Temple of Doom, and it scared. Well, all those movies really scared the shit out of me, especially at the end of Raiders.
Mhm.
Like and their face melts. You know, imagine seeing that when you're 6.
Oh yeah.
Jesus, man. But that's another franchise that doesn't feel special to me anymore, dude, because they're just trying to make money. I don't see any story relevance that would help with the Indiana Jones, arc, because it ended perfectly with Last Crusade.
Mhm.
Then riding off into the sunset. That was perfect. I gave Crystal Skull a chance and I walked out bitter
Mhm.
because it was CGI'd all the shit. So it's
Yeah.
like, let things go. I mean, or
If it
if you're
wasn't
gonna,
James Mangold directing it, I would have zero faith in the movie whatsoever. He's the only reason why I'm like, okay, maybe.
yes, and I do love that dude. Ever since Walk the Line, everything he's done is just solid, man. That's like an Oscar. Wasn't he nominated for Ford versus
I believe so.
Fairlane? That's like the Andrew Dice Clay movie. You know what I meant. You know what I meant.
Mhm.
But yeah, let it go, man. So yeah, good. What did we leave off? Was it you or me? I think
You
I.
on nostalgia.
Okay, so that's what I got to say on that, man. Like I said, I just hate that things don't feel special to me anymore.
Mhm.
Like I look back and like the only thing I really does feel special is like Flash Gordon,
Mhm.
but it's just like the key franchises that I held dear as a kid is just like it's just not there no more, dude, because it's just oversaturated. And when I see footage of like Darth Vader dancing to Every Day I'm Shuffling at Disney, I'm just like, oh, it's like, oh, you killed it for me, man. It's just sucks now, dude. Anyway, so go ahead,
Yeah.
man.
I thought I was a Star Wars fan until I joined YouTube, and I was like, I'm not a Star Wars fan. I'm casual at best. Like there's Star
Yeah.
Wars celebrations going on right now, and they're announcing things left and right. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about any of this.
Isn't
Not
it
watching
weird?
any more of your shows.
Isn't it? I mean, are you like kind of bitter like me in a sense, or maybe not bitter because you probably don't give a shit, but like, are you like upset that nothing really gets you excited anymore? I mean, I was
Um,
genuinely surprised with X. Like, hey,
I still get excited about certain things. I mean, there's not, it's not quite the same, and I think some of that's just being an adult too. There's that kid, that
yeah,
childlike wonder too, in a sense that you kind of lose. But no, more so with me, it's just I'm a bit burnt out on the MCU just because aside from the last half of Spider-Man No Way Home, like I haven't really had an MCU movie that I've loved since Endgame, and I don't really see anything on the horizon that feels like well, Multiverse of Madness was close.
I had a
But
good time. I actually
yeah,
applauded when that wing demon came out.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But I haven't really had anything that's like really knocked my socks off movie-wise. Don't see anything on the horizon, but more so just Disney Plus. It just feels like this junk drawer that's just going to be able to oversaturate everything. Like we got the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and there's still two that I have not watched. I haven't watched Loki, I haven't watched Hawkeye. So maybe I'm speaking on ignorance a little bit there. But every single show that I've watched, I'm just like,
Right?
it's okay. Like
Is it
Moon
that they
Knight
feel
felt like it was
safe?
gonna,
Because
huh?
for me, like, there's never any heavy stakes with these movies or shows. That's
Yeah,
why I'm like, I'm not worried about the protagonists or if they're gonna make it or not. I'm not worried about that. So
yeah,
that's why I'm not really vested in it anymore. So
yeah. So it kind of feels like they're just churning out this stuff that, and even worse that it's kind of required viewing. Like good luck understanding Multiverse of Madness if you didn't sit down and watch 10 episodes of WandaVision. But the Star Wars shows is kind of the same way, where it's just like we're just gonna do all of this stuff. We're gonna have shows for every character. I am curious about Kenobi, but everything else that they've announced, I'm just like,
who
I
gives a
just
shit,
don't
right?
care.
It's
Like
like,
for a long time, I think it's because Star Wars was such a rarity. Like even when they had the
yes.
prequels, you had the prequels, and that was like this huge monumental thing. Like holy fuck, they're doing more. And then that kind of didn't work out. And then it was years until we got the sequel trilogy. And as soon
Hmm.
as Disney got it, now it's like Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, and it's just something about it has lost whenever you have to like really like hope and pray like can we get a new Star Wars movie sometime in the next decade. And
Hmm.
now it's like shit, I got 18 fucking shows coming out, I got a whole other trilogy of movie. Like that's there's so much that it feels like there's no kind of a quantity versus quality type thing. Like
Yeah.
it's so readily available that the excitement's gone.
Yes. I will never forgive Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and everybody to not write a scene with Leia, Han, and Luke all together. Like, hey, pal, where you been? Like I will forever be angry that we never got them see that scene, all of them reuniting because they were just putting so much focus on Ray and
Yeah.
their new characters. I will never forgive them what they did to Luke. And I'm glad they're kind of redeeming that character with the Mandalorian, which I haven't subscribed. I just see the screenshots. I'm like, hey, that's pretty
Hmm.
cool. But I will never forgive them for that. That just really, for me, that killed Star Wars for me. And now Paramount is killing Star Trek with Picard. That's just, it's not Star Trek anymore. It's just a J.J. Abrams, a long 9 hour movie. That doesn't
Hmm.
make any fucking sense. So I am bitter as shit right now. I'm 45. But movie freak. You're 19, sir, and watched the first Top Gun for the first time last night. I thought it was decent, okay, at best. But watched the new one today and thought it was phenomenal. That's what I'm hearing. Again, I remember I was telling Cody this. I'm the old guy. Seeing Top Gun at the movies. It was the 80s. It's a product of the 80s. That's all it is. Just over the top, fun stuff. If you want to see a Top Gun knockoff, well, check out Iron Eagle because that came out like a year later.
Hmm.
That's like a low budget Top Gun, but there were actually Navy recruiters outside the theater. So when you left the theater, there were the Navy personnel like, hey, you want to join? Yeah, you can fly a plane, go right ahead. Sure. But I can't
Hmm.
read, sir. No, it doesn't matter. We'll get you in that plane. Don't worry about it. So there you go. So there you go. Top Gun. Can't wait to see it, man. I'm gonna see it tomorrow on IMAX.
I think you'll enjoy it. I would. I think there's going to be very few people out there that don't enjoy it, and those that don't like it as much as the first one, it's going to be because of nostalgia. Like honestly, on an objective level, I have a hard time believing anybody could look at both films and say, on paper, that the original is better. The original is a product of the '80s that you either have nostalgia for, loved, or you watch it nowadays and you go, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, that
Yeah.
happened. But the
And
new one really just I really think in just about every way it tops the original. If you remove nostalgia from it. So
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going to love it because from a filmmaking standpoint, I know Tom Cruise doesn't just put out whatever. He's
no,
heavily involved in his films, or
he makes sure
they
that
always say that it
his
feels like old Hollywood, like an old
yes.
classic film is what I hear all the time, which makes sense.
He makes sure that his movies are like the best theater experience that you could possibly produce. That new era of Tom Cruise being the boss at whatever
Yeah.
movie, and it's so far it's working. My second one, and again, I don't really think anybody in this chat is probably going to be the target for this, but I really wish people nowadays would start making up their own fucking minds. And there's a lot that goes into this. We talked about Rotten Tomatoes. Go see the movie for yourself. Like, even I'm a guy that puts out reviews. I don't put out a review so that you'll take my opinion and run with it. I put out a review to give my opinion to help you gauge whether or not you might be interested in it. But I still always champion people making up their own mind, even if I fucking hate the movie.
Yeah.
Even if I'm telling like this is the worst piece of shit I've seen all year. If somebody's like, well, I still want to check it out, I'm like, please do. Please do. Because you know how many movies I have loved that other people have told me have been garbage? A lot. And vice versa. Don't ever take somebody else's opinion as your own. But you have Rotten Tomatoes now that is kind of the one that deems whether a movie is worthy or not. And everybody just for the I say everybody in not a blanket statement. Just I know it's not literally everybody, but most people that I see as far as interaction on Twitter and stuff like that, that's kind of the end all be all. It's is it rotten or is it fresh? You get a movie like not trying to puff up the blood there, Rudy, but like when you get a Zack Snyder film,
Yeah. Okay.
and
Okay.
you get Rotten Tomatoes that's like 55, something like that, and it's like, well, the movie by definition is divisive. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I love movies that are divisive for certain reasons. I like when a movie shoots for the stars and doesn't always try to just appeal to everybody. We're going to make this a general audience crowd pleaser. I like a movie that takes some risks. Sometimes that risk
Yes.
pays off for me. Sometimes it doesn't. But I would rather go see something that takes some risks and potentially love it, like X, than to go see something that I know I'm going to have a pretty good little 3-star experience with this movie, no matter what.
Mhm.
So you have that. You have this whole thing now. Again, social media has kind of ruined us in this sense to where nobody actually reads articles and shit that they share around and use as like this argument armor. They just read the fucking headline and share it, or they adopt that opinion. And 90% of the time when you actually read the article, the headline is totally misrepresenting what the actual article is about, or it's wrong, factually wrong. But you get, these little buzzwords. News is about hits nowadays. It's not about being right. It's about being there first.
Yep.
My shit was shared the most on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about who's the most correct. It's who got that fucking headline out quickest. And then it just spreads like wildfire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you get a lot of things nowadays like the Johnny Depp trial, to where you have a headline that says Johnny Depp's a wife beater. Nobody looks into it. Nobody gives a fuck. They just believe the headline. They share it. And then now you have the situation that we're in. That's a small example, but that's the kind of things that we get nowadays, where people see a sentence and they roll with it. And then they take that as the opinion and they take it as gold. They don't look into it at all. They don't check the facts. They don't try to find the other side of the argument. And then, that turns into like this. I'm not going to take it too political, but a lot of times today in the political climate, it's all about my team versus their team. And that's all anybody cares about. It's this tribalism thing. Like we had the tragedy happen in Texas yesterday, and I did this vent on Twitter and on Facebook, to where I'm like, we really lost it as a society when discussing children's lives, whether they're in the womb or in a classroom, is just a political debate nowadays. It's not a human discussion about children's lives. It's not a society discussion about safety or anything like that, or morals or whatever. It's just left versus right.
Yeah.
What team are you on? Because this team says this team says this. And my opinion is fuck both of those teams, because neither one of them gives a shit about any of you. Yep. All the people that I see, and dude, I live in the biggest fucking red state you've ever seen, and I'm not left or right. I will say that now. I'm somebody firmly planted in the middle. I think some things on both sides make sense. I think if you're extreme on either side, you're a fucking wacko. But I live in a state where most people you interact with is the stereotypical redneck. And I see it all the time, especially when I used to work with a whole bunch of them, where it's just everything is that team's speech just all day long. no matter if it's about gun control, abortion, or fucking who's the best president or whatever. It's just whatever that team told you to say.
Yes.
And that shit drives me up a fucking wall. Like when you have a whole party of people that can sit down and agree, yeah, this guy who's at the head of this party, he's a fucking idiot, but he's on my team, so I got to act like he's awesome. That shit drives me nuts. And I don't think as a society we're ever going to get out of this quicksand that we're in until people start to make up their own minds and not just say, what does the team say? What am I supposed to do? I haven't even heard the argument yet, but what's the answer? I've never once walked into an argument and taken a side before I hear what the fucking argument is. And that's all politics is nowadays. That's all news headlines is. That's all movie fandom. It's what does the fan base say? They said Halloween Kills is awesome. It's awesome. Fuck you if you didn't like it. It drives me nuts.
Yeah, dude. You know what? I completely agree. And I had to go mute because somebody rang my doorbell and now my chihuahua's going insane. So, hold on. Anyway, real quick before I go and rebuttal to that or retort, Chris, thank you for the super chat. Hot Shots was better than Iron Eagle. Yeah, Charlie Sheen really buffed up for that movie. That was a fun movie, so that was pretty hilarious, man. But
I miss healthy Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever healthy, but he got buff for that movie. That was pretty funny.
I miss the appearance of healthy Charlie Sheen.
But you're right, man. It's funny because you're right. It's not if you're right, it's who's first. No one reads the article; they just read the headline and share it. And I'm glad Twitter recognized that, and now they have that little heart sub. Hey, do you want to read the article before you share the damn thing? That's great. But it's amazing how, again, political. Again, I voted both ways in my life. I'm not loyal to fucking anybody. I'm not even loyal to the Dallas Cowboys. Fuck them, because I grew up with them. But shitty management. Fuck you. I'm gonna go be a Packer fan. I'm not loyal to anybody. So I make up my own mind. But it's funny how a meme can be perceived as factual.
Yeah,
and news. That meme will help me. Yep, that reinforced my mind and my idea. So I'm gonna share it. Do you know if that's even accurate?
Oh yeah, you get the people that have like the little bar graphs or like the statistics and shit, and they just share the picture, and I'm like, did you research that at all? Like, do you even know if that's accurate? Yeah. Or I know it fits whatever you're saying, but like, if I Google this shit, is it going to be anywhere close? And we saw that all the time with COVID. Like, COVID made it 1,000 times worse than it ever was, where every statistic people just shared, this many people died yesterday, and it's like, well, actually, it was this number, but cool.
Yeah, it's gotten so, like you said, like tribal. It's like we can't talk to each other. I put a TikTok out addressing because what happened in Uvalde. I'm in San Antonio, so Uvalde is like 30 minutes west of me. And of all the events, this one hit me the hardest because it's so close to home, and everybody, through six degrees of separation, we're close to somebody. Yeah. And just seeing all the political talk already start, and these kids were murdered, man. And just to see the
immediately went political.
Yeah. And you're not taking my guns, this and that. And you know what? I've voted Republican and Democrat in my past, because I like to read what they're talking about, and I'm not loyal to just anybody, like I said. So I think a lot of us need to just step back out of our own world, our own box, and just kind of see what's going on outside of our world. That's how you gain perspective. That's how you learn. And that's how you go, oh, I didn't know you guys were going through that. So it's a shame we're like that now, man.
Talk with people. Like, that's the thing that even makes it even worse, is the whole, social media thing, is that, again, with this like tribalism, everybody's got to be hard left, hard right. And it's like, most of us actually live in the middle.
Yeah.
Most of us would actually agree on pretty much every single huge issue out there, that the answer is somewhere in the middle. It's not this way or that way. Very, very rarely is it ever that.
Yeah.
And I think most people, when you actually talk to them, feel that way, but you get those that feel like they got to wave their little fucking flag. I'm this team, and it's always got to be this hard left, hard right thing, no matter what the thing is. And every single, at least for me, every single time I see an argument where you get this hard left, hard right thing, both of them sound fucking stupid.
Yeah.
And it's like neither one of those is a solution.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that us, like right now, like you just said, your world is different from my world, but yet we're not attacking each other. And again, maybe we're wired differently, but I don't know. But just knowing that whatever beliefs you've had, I mean, I don't want to go on the gun control thing, but I just know whatever we're doing is not working, and we need to do something.
Clearly.
And it's scary because, like I said, I didn't want to take my kids to school the next day. And as a parent, and you're a parent too. It's like, do you even have to fucking worry about that, man? It's just, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's complete bullshit, man. Anyway, I have like a user here that I'm trying to block here. Let me just check if he's.
If you have a second, go into your live settings on YouTube and make it to where they have to be a subscriber for an hour or something like that to chat.
Okay.
Yeah, this fucker will be here the rest of the stream because he's pathetic and has nothing else to do.
All right. So let me see here. I've never done that.
But while you're talking about that, kind of, this was going to be my third one, but it also kind of goes along with number two. You know,
Go ahead.
Where I'm talking about, you know,
Hold on.
making
I
up
think
your own.
camera died. So just give me a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Do your thing.
So kind of going along with making up your own mind, I wish people would think before they type, and it goes along with that, you know, sharing things without reading it. But like, you see so many Facebook statuses or especially YouTube comments and tweets where it's just like, did you even think before you type that out? I made a joke about it with like the YouTube comment stuff, but there's a lot of things that's just like common sense just escapes people sometimes, to where, you know, if you see a YouTuber make a flub on a video and your first instinct, you watch a 20-minute video and your first instinct is, you know, the only thing that I want to discuss is I want to make sure that he knows that he messed that up, that one word, or he flubbed that name or said the name wrong. Most of the time, the person that made the video already knows. Like, I know when I flub a name, half the time I know I think the name correctly in my head, but it just comes out wrong because I talk off the cuff. And so when you're like, hey, you know, I think I said Jeff Bridges when I was talking about Dumb and Dumber on a video about a month ago. And I know Jeff Daniels is in the movie. I know that. But for whatever reason, Bridges came out of my mouth. So when you get 75 people that are like, it's Jeff Daniels, not Jeff. Yeah, I know. It's even worse when you get like a pinned comment that you make where like, I acknowledge that I made this mistake. Please don't correct me for the next fucking 8 weeks. And you get people that scroll past that because they just can't wait to correct you. Or you get YouTube comments to where they say something that what was the other thing that I made fun of? Like, spoiler alerts and shit like that, where, you know, you spoiled this, and it's like, why the fuck are you on YouTube watching videos if you don't want to know any details about this movie? Anyway, I was rambling to try to give you time, but I was looping in with, you know, making up your own minds. People should think before they type as well.
Okay. I'm trying to block that person. Let me go to the settings here real quick.
They're just going to make more and more and more accounts. That's the one person making multiple accounts. You block them, they make a new account, they come back. It's the same guy. He does it to every single stream that I guest on.
Okay.
So if you go into YouTube Studio and you select the video that we are doing right now and go down to live settings or customization, I think it says,
okay,
there is a mode where you can make it subscribers only, and you can choose 30 minutes, whatever, and then that will kill his pathetic little game because he'll have to wait 30 minutes or an hour every time he makes one of these little fake profiles.
Okay.
So he'll go beat off in his mother's basement while we finish our stream.
And I'm probably going to lose like half the audience. Let's see. Well, I put 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I mean, just something to make it to where it's not every 5 seconds he's coming back.
Gotcha.
You can make it 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right, there we go.
He'll get bored and fuck off.
Okay.
You got 2 super chats.
Okay, let me go.
You got Movie Freak 2000 and King Mike Todd's.
Movie Freak, man. Thank you again. This is awesome. I think a lot of it is insecurity. People feel like if they don't have the same opinion, then they are not going to be liked. And there's a lot of that in school. That makes sense. I can agree with that.
Well,
I remember when I was younger.
Fuck that.
Yeah, I remember when I was younger, I thought that way. And then I just woke up one morning like, I don't give a fuck. I don't want to have to ride with everybody else.
No.
Like my own damn mind. So thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. King Mike Todd's. This is the why I said the internet has ruined the world. I completely agree with both of you guys. I just love movies, man. I wish the internet wasn't a thing low key. The world is getting worse. Yeah. I've noticed the way people talk to each other over the internet is not how you converse face to face.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. I remember like coming from my day, like what people like, especially you remember in the Call of Duty chat rooms where they're just insulting each other. Like they wouldn't talk like that, you know, face to face.
People get way too comfortable with not getting slapped in the fucking mouth.
Yeah. My God. San Antonio in the house. Yeah. What's up, man? Thank you.
Did you ever read that story? I don't remember what country it was in. It was in a foreign land, but some kid was talking shit on Call of Duty or something like that to an adult. And he used his little hacker computer trickery to ping the kid's profile, found out where he lived, went to his house and choked the fuck out of him.
Oh shit! I didn't know that, man. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
Obviously, adults shouldn't hit kids, but it's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah.
Your
hell
mother's
those
gonna
kids.
fuck me.
I'm like, if I was to
You gonna learn today, bitch.
Yeah, I'll shake the shit out of you. I won't hit you, but I'll shake the shit out of you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So my third one, right?
Yes.
My third one here. I'm gonna be a little. It's a word landmine, as somebody once said. I think you said that, Cody. So I'm gonna be very careful how I say it. So I'm gonna say studios.
Oh,
I hate studios and agendas and diversity. Now let me be clear about the diversity piece.
ooh.
I am obviously not white. I am Hispanic.
What?
And
I'm out of here.
yeah, who would have thought, right? But anyway, I never want to see an Hispanic Captain America or a Hispanic Iron Man, Superman. I don't want to see that shit because it's just pandering to the internet for clicks, retweets, and I believe you can make adjustments. Like minor characters, you can change whatever, but when they're purposely doing it just to do it. And just to get like the internet on their side, especially Warner Brothers doing all these things, like we're gonna make a Black Superman film. Like, really? Do you really? I mean, Henry Cavill's been waiting fucking 10 years, man, for Superman. So you're gonna go with a Black Superman? Come on, that's just stupid. So when it comes to things like that, it's not done with being genuine about it. They're doing it to fucking get money from you.
Mm.
And not many people know how to do it right. The only film, believe it or not, in the past few years that I saw where it was diverse, but it made sense with the narrative of the film is Shazam. I'm watching Shazam, and I'm like, okay, the orphans, this and that. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, whoa, wait a minute. Everyone's different, and that made sense within the narrative. It wasn't just forced upon that. So I didn't see it happen in front of my face. It was just there, authentically there. But one thing that Disney does for me that I can't stand is that they force a lot of their message in movies. And I think a lot of people in this chat, and maybe you are like me, where when I'm in a movie, I hope, dude, I always, this is like the edgy moment. I hope when I'm in a movie, I'm like in the movie, like nothing fucking is around me. I'm in that world. I'm escaped. Yeah, my mind is elsewhere. But when Disney comes in with like freedom for all robots, we're not slaves, like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, God damn it. Like, it just pisses me off. So I don't think studios are doing that. I don't think anyone's doing it well, man, to be honest. And I just hate that.
It's not genuine. It's not, Hollywood always loves to tell everybody else how to live their lives. And Hollywood doesn't even have their shit together. I mean, you got Harvey Weinstein's out the ass in that motherfucker. And so it's like, that's why I love comedians like Ricky Gervais. It's like, you motherfuckers are so removed from reality. Shut the fuck up. Don't do your little speeches. Get your little award. Go sit the fuck down, because nobody in the real world cares. And, not to say that everybody in Hollywood is that way. There's certainly some sane people, but a lot of them, when you live in that elitism bubble where you have millions and millions of dollars and you've got houses that are bigger than most of our neighborhoods and everybody knows your name, you can't go anywhere without being recognized. You don't have to. It's a wholly different world. It's not reality. It's not where most people live.
Yeah.
And so, when you get that studio system that's just like, oh, what's the current buzz thing? We got to put that in the movie.
Yeah.
I appreciate it if it's genuine.
Yeah.
Or I appreciate it like diversity if it's not, like, as long as they don't point to it.
Yeah. Like
look! For example, Wrong Turn, the remake of Wrong Turn. I argued tooth and nail with people for like a fucking week over that movie because people were calling it woke turn.
Yeah.
And it's only because there is a gay couple and there's an interracial couple in this group of people that become the victims. But the movie never points at it. The movie's not like, look at this diverse group of people and look at this progressive gay couple. Like the only thing that the gay couple does in the movie is they hold hands walking into this podunk little southern town, and they let go of their hands whenever they see people looking at them, and then they fucking die.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not like the movie's like, all right, guys, while you're watching this movie about this little this mountain men society that's going to murder people in vicious ways, make sure that you support the LGBTQ, plus whatever other letters are in there now, community. Like, the movie doesn't do that. There's a lot of movies that do that. You were talking about Star Trek earlier. One of my best examples that I always pull out when it comes to a studio or a movie trying to pander to people and try to get some little checkbox and, not being genuine about it whatsoever, but just, hey, look what we did. was when they made Sulu gay in the third one. Now,
Yeah.
that's always been a character that people, just because George Takei is gay, they're like, I wonder if Sulu's gay. And
Yeah.
George Takei will tell you he's not.
Mhm.
But they decided we're going to make him canonically gay in this movie. That's
Which makes
fine.
sense.
That's
Yeah.
fine. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Whatever.
Mhm.
But they made such a big fucking deal out of it before that movie came out. They're like, we're making Sulu. It was all you could see before Star Trek, the third one came out.
Mhm.
And the only thing that happens in the movie is in the first 15 minutes after they land, after their little cold open mission, is that John Cho walks over to a guy, kisses him, holds his hand, and walks away.
Mhm.
And Captain Kirk looks at it. That's
Yeah.
all they do to
That's all they
explore
do.
that.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
remove that scene from the movie, he's not gay anymore. And it's just like when I saw Secrets of Dumbledore.
Mhm.
They have this, it's the third chapter of this prequel trilogy, to where you have this eternal, evil battle between Team Dumbledore and Team Grindelwald. And though the
Sure.
books might have hinted at this, if you just watch the movies, in the movie, it's a revelation that Dumbledore and Grindelwald were actually lovers.
Really?
And you're like,
I didn't know
oh,
that. Oh,
yeah, you're
wow.
like, oh, so the main good guy and the main bad guy that we're supposed to be rooting against used to be in love with each other. That makes a whole interesting dynamic to this. They talk about it in one fucking scene, to the point where China said, we don't want that in our movie. They delete the one scene, and
Yeah.
that entire subplot is removed from the movie. And I'm sorry, like, if I was gay, I would be insulted by that. If you can
Mhm.
remove my entire representation by cutting 3 minutes from your film, then you're not representing a fucking thing.
Because it's only for American audiences, not the the other countries and stuff like that. That's why they removed what's that guy's name from the Star Wars posters, Finn, because of racism and things like that. They're all diverse here, but when they go to overseas, they remove people from posters, which is
Yeah, if
stupid.
Disney really wanted to have balls, they would say, fuck you, don't play our movie then. But they know.
Money, 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 money. Yep. Yeah, dude, it's you're right, because I get, the demographic is different out there. There are obviously gay people and people within the LGBTQ community, which is fine. But again, when you take characters that have already been around for 80, 30, 40 years, and you just make them into that, I just don't think that's right. I mean, make new characters.
Yeah.
There's I'm pretty sure in the comic book catalog there are characters that are, so highlight them. But just to put somebody who's gay, I mean, I think they made Superboy gay or Superman gay in the comics not too long ago. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, man. It just is, it's not for me. But it's not authentic. It doesn't come off authentic, and it takes me out of the story. In my opinion, the only film that did diversity right, where it made sense, was Creed, because it's a reboot of the Rocky franchise. They took characters from the original franchise and implemented them into a movie and narrative that made perfect fucking sense.
Yeah.
And even got Stallone an Oscar nomination. You had a lead who was black, but it made fucking sense, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They treasured the franchise before it. Unlike Star Wars and other people and Ghostbusters and things like that, they cherished what was already written before and just brought it into the modern world. So that, in my opinion, is one of the best reboots that implemented diversity ever made, man. That's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah, no, that's because you have a black filmmaker and a writer like Ryan Coogler that was passionate about the franchise,
Fuck
but
yeah.
also is very passionate about representing his culture. And so he made this movie that he's a fan of, and he puts a lot of love into it. And so you got both. You got a movie that feels like an appropriate continuation of Rocky, that all Rocky fans can still like or love, but at the same time, it's a very different movie. It's a different culture. There's different things going on with Adonis than Rocky ever had to deal with. And so that's where you get the passion, you get the representation that's done from a good place, because that person wants to put that in their movie. Versus, and I might be speaking out of ignorance here because I don't know the story behind it, but like the example you gave about Black Superman, that sounds like somebody at the studio saying, you know what? We need to have Superman at some point, but fuck the Snyderverse. So who wants to make Superman black? Anybody want that job? That's what it sounds like. Like, I don't know anybody that was clamoring for that, white or black.
Yeah.
And so, I would say there's probably more black people out there that are fans of DC that's like, what about Henry? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And so I don't know, that's where you get it to where nowadays you could see it like writing on the wall. You could see whether there's passion there, whether there's actual like desire to have representation and diversity, or if it's just a studio checkbox. Like I had a friend of mine who was trying to pitch this writing idea for a DC animated film. And he had wrote the whole story out and everything like that, and was talking to producers. And the only feedback that he got was, we want you to make this character gay. And he's like, but that has nothing to do with the story that I wrote. Like, that doesn't change anything. Yeah, I know, but we just wanted to be gay. And it's like, that's the exact example we're talking about, where it's just like, it'll make us look better, but there's no passion behind it. There's nobody that's like, if you made him gay, you could really explore this and you could make it even deeper. The emotions will be more with this and this. And there's none of that behind it.
Exactly.
And that's why it might sound phony coming from a white cisgendered male, but like I said, if I was gay or if I was black or whatever, that type of shit would annoy the fuck out of me.
Movie Freak, another. I love your followers. They're pretty badass, man. You're his favorite YouTuber, but I think he just introduced me to my second. So Rudy, you rock. So Movie Freak 2000. Thank you. I take that as a great compliment, man. One other thing. Going back to diversity, let me tell a story real quick. I think a good story transcends race and color. Let me explain.
Yes.
Because growing up as a kid, I never saw Luke Skywalker, Marty McFly as white, and I don't relate to them. I connected with them with what they were going through.
Yeah.
And I pretended to be them when I went outside and played. One of my favorite guilty pleasures of all time, I even did a video of this, one of my retro reviews, is The Last Dragon with Bruce Leroy. In The Shogun of Harlem, a black lead, black cast, filmed in Harlem. One of my favorite fucking movies of all time, man. I love this. The soundtrack is on my workout mix. That's how much I love this cheesy movie. But I related to Bruce Leroy because what he was going through, his journey. So it's not the color that a movie audiences see. They want to feel connected to them. They want to relate to them. It doesn't matter where they live or how they look. And I pretended to be Bruce Leroy, and he was black. So as a kid, I didn't think about things like that. It's only when it's indoctrinated on social media, like, well, kids want to see heroes that look like them. Like, do they really? But they just want good heroes. Because I didn't ask for a Hispanic hero growing up. We didn't care as long as it was fun. Yeah. That's all we cared about, man.
Yeah. So, I thought Blade was a bad motherfucker. I didn't give a shit if he was black or not. I was like, I want to be Blade.
Fuck yes, dude. And that's nothing. That's when MCU movies had balls. Blade 1 and 2 are my favorite. Incredible Hulk before the Disney bought him. That's the best Hulk in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah, and Blade 1 and 2 are fucking awesome, man. God damn, those are badass.
I even enjoy Trinity. I know it's bad, but I still have fun with it.
Yeah, I like Ryan Reynolds and Triple H. That's pretty funny there. That's why my man crush started with Ryan Reynolds.
Yep. That was where he was still kind of like he was still trying to get like the Deadpool muscles worked out. It's like, all right, I got this humor right here. I got to test it out on Blade.
Yeah. Let's see. Real quick. I hate that everything get the woke label like Candyman. The whole story was always been built around race. Yeah. I didn't think Candyman was woke.
No, woke is just one of those words. It's almost like Me Too, where it became this buzzword, this hashtag, and people used it so much they forgot what the fuck it meant.
Yeah.
Like woke was about, if I'm not mistaken, woke was about the black community trying to get people to realize injustices that were still going on in today's society.
Yeah.
Nowadays, people use woke for anything that has any political undertones, any kind of pandering, any kind of representation or diversity in any amount, small or big. It just becomes under this umbrella of woke. And people don't realize that it's almost like when Captain Marvel came out and I had people in my workplace, they're like, man, you fucking woke ass shit going on because they're making female superheroes now. And I'm like,
really? Like, female superheroes?
Are you? Yeah. Like stuff like, I don't even need to defend that, but like, the stuff where I'm just like, do you even know what you're saying? Do you even understand the words coming out of your mouth?
Yeah.
But you get movies, like I said, Woke Turn or Candyman, good example, where they're like, this movie looks woke. I'm like, have you ever seen the fucking original? Like the whole thing is bathed in social commentary. That's what made it so great, because you had shit that was just like generic slashers trying to recapture the magic of the 80s and couldn't do it to save their fucking lives. And then you had Candyman that actually had something to say.
Yep.
And then the fact that they continued that, well, no shit.
Yeah.
If Michael Myers wasn't in Halloween, you'd bitch, wouldn't you? It's the same thing. And so, yeah, that's another, I could do a whole video on just that, just people misusing that word, throwing it out left and right. There are movies that deserve that label. There are movies like Black Christmas 2019 that is woke as fuck.
I have not seen that, man.
You're a smart man. There's movies like the one that I just reviewed today, Men, that is woke as fuck.
Yeah.
But when you throw that word around to represent everything that you just don't want to talk about or don't hear about or don't like or whatever, then that word has no meaning whatsoever.
Yeah. The only what was the movie here? I remember when Batman came out earlier this year. I remember, oh, it's woke because of the casting of Commissioner
One f-
Gordon,
one
Catwoman.
one
I'm like,
fucking line in the movie where she says about the white privilege, and they're like, "This woke ass movie." I'm like, "It's 3 hours long. You're talking
yes,
about one
one fucking
second
line.
of 3 hours
But I think they were talking about some of the guys I saw was the casting. And
of
again,
Gordon."
great acting surpasses. You don't see color when the acting's so fucking good. And Jeffrey Wright was amazing, dude.
Not only that, but when it's a character where the race or even the gender in very rare examples don't really have anything to do with the character. Like nothing. If I told you to describe Commissioner Gordon to me, there's nothing
Mhm.
that's going to come out of your mouth that's exclusive to white.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
annoying when it's not that case. When you
Hmm.
have somebody like Blade, there's no reason to make him white or Hispanic or anything else because the whole idea of that character is African American. Black Panther, same thing.
Yeah,
You get something like James Bond, and they want to make a female James Bond. It's like everything that James Bond is would only work for a man.
yep.
Make a fucking spy character for a woman if that's what you want, but you can't switch genders and have that character work. The whole epitome of James Bond is that he's this borderline misogynistic playboy that
Womanizer.
is a
Yeah.
badass. You can't do that with a woman. It won't work.
Yes, you
Like,
can.
and
I
there's some
mean,
female characters you can't make men. It's just there's some characters that have certain things about them that you can't alter like that.
yeah.
Commissioner Gordon is not one of them.
Yeah, well, I agree, man. I agree. And again, the acting's so good, I don't even see that. I'm like, oh yeah, I just didn't think about it because the acting's so
He
fucking
was
good,
so
man.
fucking good. He might be my favorite Gordon by the time we get to the second movie. And Gary Oldman was amazing. But
I
Jeffrey
know.
Wright is so awesome. Like just that whole scene where he's like, "You gotta punch me in the face. You gotta do
Yeah,
like I was just like, I'm sold. I love this fucking guy."
yeah. Open your eyes.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, you know what? I feel like it feels like 30 minutes, but we're like an hour and 30, man.
Mhm,
I think I touched on everything. Studios, their interference. Well, if I can just add one more thing to the studio piece, because diversity, I think we touched. Obviously, we spoke on that, but
mhm,
studio interference is one thing that it pisses me off. And again, I'll bring up my Zack Snyder thing. To see the trash that we got in 2017, and just understanding, just people seeing the original cut and thinking this didn't make sense or it
mhm.
was stupid, we're not going to release this. It just, I can't stand when studios intervene with the artist's vision. And for a while before Warner Brothers, turned around and went tits up and they're idiots now, I admire them because they allowed filmmakers to make movies like, Zack Snyder, of course. And of course, there's who the other directors that made shit, Christopher Nolan. They
The
let the directors,
Wachowskis and
yeah, they let the directors take creative freedoms and make in telling a story. So I'm like, oh,
mhm,
I respect that. While in the MCU, it had to be a certain template, and whenever a director came in with different ideas, they were fired or replaced.
mhm,
So that's a frustrating part to me as well, just not letting filmmakers tell the true story or vision, because once studios and all these too many cooks in the kitchen get a hold of it, and like you said, all the check boxes, do we have a diverse cast, do we have a message, do we have somebody wearing an LGBTQ button or something like that, do we
mhm,
have a line, something. It just takes the authenticity away from the movie experience, and it feels
mhm.
like a product versus a film.
Oh yeah,
And
and movie audiences are getting much more privy to it. Like you can really see nowadays when a movie is a genuine artistic vision or when it's a product made by committee. I mean, we saw the
Disney.
Batman. We
Oh,
saw the
sorry.
Batman earlier this year, and that is very clearly WB hopefully starting a trend for their future where they say, "Matt Reeves, we hired you, we trust you, go
Do what
make
you
your
want.
movie."
Do what you want.
3 hour movie, dark as fuck. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. It's not
Yep.
going to make $2 billion. It's not going to get
We don't give a
100% on
fuck.
Rotten Tomatoes, but fuck it. Go ahead. And then you got Morbius, where you watch it and you go, I see like 35 studio execs making decisions on every single scene of this movie.
Hmm.
And it's a piece of shit. You watch it and then people forget about it immediately. Nobody cares. Now the franchise is dead. And all people are talking about is don't do that ever again.
Yep.
And so, those are two very close in proximity
Yeah.
examples that we got like in March there, where it was just like, wow, there's two different ways to make a film.
Let's see here. Oh, we got another super chat. Man, this is nice, man. I think I made like 80 or $100. That's awesome, man. God,
Sweet.
I can pay the rent. Thanks for the chat, Cody. Much love, Rudy. Glad I found your channel too. 2 months till Better Call Saul. Damn it.
I know. It'll be a quick wait, though. Imagine the wait that we had back in Breaking Bad, where it was like a fucking year with
That
a
sucked.
cliffhanger. We were like,
That
what
sucked,
happens
man.
now?
That fucking sucked, dude. But yeah, dude, I feel better. I think I'm gonna. I think I want to smoke a cigarette. I don't even
Hmm.
smoke. I just wanted like I let it off my chest. I feel good. I feel healthy. So,
Good.
any other things you want to vent or
Yeah,
let out
I
before
still
we go?
got my third one. Still
Oh
got
yeah.
my
Oh
third
shit.
one
I'm
here.
sorry.
I didn't want to cut you off. I'm like, I don't know if he's doing like the outro
No,
transition
my
to me.
bad. My bad. The stage is yours.
There
Go
you're
ahead, sir.
good. So we talked about this a little bit before we went live, and I decided, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because the more that I talk about it, the more frustrated I get, and it's something that I think a lot of people on the viewer end probably don't even realize the frustration that goes into it. But something that I'm going to really heavily vent on tonight that has been in the forefront of my mind for a couple of days is this process that we have as content creators or critics or whatever you want to call us with the marketing reps that represent these studios to get screeners or to get early access and stuff like that. Now, let me say right off the bat, we're not entitled to anything. Like, it's all pretty much a gift. It's cool just to be able to see stuff. But when it's a regular practice, which all of us that are, successful on YouTube, even some of us that aren't successful on YouTube, have the avenue where we can contact studios, contact reps, and get to see Zack Snyder's Justice League a week before he goes to HBO Max, or get to see get invites to physical screenings, or get to see a Netflix show and get your review ready. I mean, that's how you have that. People always wonder how things like Collider and IGN always have these reviews out early, or even smaller YouTubers and stuff, like how they get them out early, and that's how, because they talk with marketing reps or they get in with a company and they get access to these screeners, usually
Yep.
with the caveat, with some, I don't know, Netflix is really big on this, with the caveat that you actually do coverage of it. If we're going to
Hmm.
give you this, you need to do a video. And so it's a different process for every company. Some companies like Disney Plus and or just Disney in general and Amazon, to me, are the ones that have it figured out to where once you're in with them, you're in. Once you have passed whatever threshold or gotten their attention or have been deemed worthy, they just
Hmm.
send you pretty much everything that they have for the most part, whether you ask for it or not. You don't have to go through a request stage for every single title. You're not required to watch all of it. You're not required to cover all of it. But if you are a critic or a pundit or a press that we want to work with, you don't have to continuously re-up that relationship. Once you're in, they just send you things.
Yeah.
Like, for
Which is
example,
cool. That's cool.
yeah, it's awesome. Like, I just got The Boys season 3 last night. I didn't even
Oh,
have
you
to
did it.
request it. I did. Didn't even
Yeah.
have to request it. It's how it should be.
Hmm.
Then you contrast that with my very recent experience with, I don't even know if it's a Netflix thing or if it's just the company that's in charge of Stranger Things. I don't know if it's the same one, but Stranger Things 4 is coming out tomorrow. I'm a big Stranger Things fan. I've covered the show before. Season 3, I didn't get a chance to cover because it was busy, but I did reviews of the first 2 seasons. I had planned on reviewing season 4 and doing a ranking of the seasons. If those succeeded, maybe ranking some characters or something. It's a show that I imagine is popular with my audience.
Hmm.
And so I did the typical process with trying to get screeners through Netflix properties, which is where you go onto the Netflix Media Center website that you have to gain access to by proving that you are press or a YouTuber or whatever. That's kind of your gate. You get into that website. And so whenever you go into here, you look at the various months of upcoming stuff. And when you want to request screeners for something, every single title that is available will have a press contact email. And so you just email that person, hey, I'm so and so, just wanted to request a screener for this. And most of the time, vast majority of the time with Netflix, I've had success. There's been very rare times where I have not gained access to something. But I emailed the press contact for Stranger Things, did the same thing I always do. Hey, I'm so and so. I'm just wanted to request a screener for this. And I even added in, I have covered the show in the past. And I got an email back very quickly after that, I'm going to paraphrase, but it said, we're unfortunately not providing screeners for season 4 of Stranger Things, but we hope that you do enjoy and cover the show when it debuts on May 27th. Okay, fine. Kind of weird. I don't know why you wouldn't want people to cover your show early, but maybe there's just ultimate spoilers, or maybe they've had leaks, whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. And then yesterday I start seeing all these YouTube channels, big and small, dropping their reviews, their first reactions for season 1. telling me that they lied their ass off. And I'm not the only channel that got that email too, because not to name drop them, but We Watched a Movie also was venting on Twitter about the fact that they got this email saying that you're not getting this because nobody is. And then they see the same channels that I am. Hey, season 4 is awesome.
Yeah.
And so the frustration for me is like, if it was just big channels, like if they were saying like, okay, we're only going to give it to IGN, Collider, Variety, all these places that are big firms. Okay, I can take that. That's fine. I'm not at that level yet. I get it. But when
Don't sell yourself short, my friend. No, you're there. They just don't recognize yet.
There you go. There you go. Cool. But when you tell people that are quite literally your free marketing firm, that's what YouTube is. All the YouTubers out there that want to cover your show, that is free marketing. When you tell all these people that are passionate about your show, that want to cover it, that want to put in the work to help you, that you don't have access, and then you make up a bullshit lie about it and then let them find out later on that there is access just for whatever reason you were denied it, it's hard not to feel personally insulted by that. To the point where I even emailed the woman back and I said, hey, I've noticed, I was told that nobody was gaining access to season 4. And today I'm seeing all these channels debuting their reviews and their social media reactions, some of which are significantly smaller than my channel, which to me, sensically, that's the only threshold that they would have, is you have to have a certain amount of subscribers. Otherwise, we're not gaining anything off of your marketing. There was channels that had like 2,000 subscribers that are putting out reviews for Stranger Things season 4. Didn't get an email back. And being that we are hours away from the show debuting, I don't imagine I'm going to get an email back. And I've dealt with this before, where I've gotten once or twice where I've been given a reason, or that, I'm not getting access, not a reason as far as a threshold that I haven't met, but just like, hey, we're not doing this or whatever, and then find out that it's false. And I think it's because they always have this confidence that those of us that like the show, or those of us that cover things like that, are going to cover it anyway because we want the views. So even if we get fucked over, we're just going to take it on the chin and okay, well, whatever. Yeah. I'll watch it with everybody else. I'm seriously considering not covering the show.
Wow.
I'm seriously considering not covering the show, which is going to be disappointing for me and my audience, because I'm sure they're going to want to know what I want to say about it, what I think about it. But it's to a point where I'm personally insulted, to the point where I don't want to give them that free marketing. Obviously, they don't need it. Stranger Things. And obviously, they don't need it because they basically didn't, they're like, fuck you, you don't get anything. But I'm a prideful person. And when I feel like I've earned the right to be able to gain access to these things by all the hard work that I've done and the following that I've built, and the past coverage that I've given, stuff like that, it's to the point where I'm personally insulted because you lied and wouldn't even give me the time of day to respond afterwards. That there's a big part of my pride, like Marcellus Wallace, that pride's fucking with me to where I almost just want to watch the show whenever I get to it and not bother putting hours into producing a review or a ranking to help their brand.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know. Like I'm still debating it. I don't know if I'm going to even do a video announcing it or a post announcing it, because I know I'm going to get questions galore. Where's your Stranger Things review? Where's this and that? And it's just very frustrating. It's very frustrating when you have me, and especially like We Watched a Movie, like they got like 100-something thousand subscribers. Like, why are they getting denied this kind of stuff? But it's to the point where these marketing firms or these studios need to figure this process out. The ones that have not figured it out, like Disney and Amazon, because this weird like selection where you get these people that are probably so far removed from the studio that are making these decisions of who gets what, like they need to figure some of that shit out. And until some channels or some content creators or whatever start taking a little bit more personal offense to stuff like that and saying, okay, fine, fuck it, not doing your show, not giving you the 50,000 views that would have been or whatever it is, and not giving you the praise that might have turned people onto it that didn't like season 3 or whatever the case may be. Again, I'm undecided, but I might be one of those people for Stranger Things. Well, I might be one of those people that watches it whenever I have time to do it, and you won't see any videos on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you have a different view, obviously a unique viewpoint because again of your audience size, your reach, and you do this for a living too. So I can
That's the other
understand that.
part of it that makes it a
Yeah,
lot more personally insulting for me, and I take it a lot harder because that's quite literally like my livelihood that you're kind of fucking with there.
yeah,
Like Stranger Things could be very profitable for me,
hmm
but you're fucking with that for absolutely no
whatever
reason,
reason. Yeah,
and so it makes it even harder to take that on the chin.
yeah. I just heard through the grapevine a few times, like in the past. I remember a couple years ago when I was really into YouTube and nothing else, like TikTok hadn't taken off or anything like that. I remember getting mad up as well, like, hey, what do I need to do?
Hmm.
I found out through the grapevine, there's a lot of creators out there, like you said, the ones that have 2,000 subs that get access to whatever.
Hmm.
They're lying. They're faking it.
Hmm.
They're just bullshitting. They say they had access or they say they saw it, but we all know, like, for a review, that Thursday at midnight, you have to release that video right when
Hmm.
the embargo's lifted to get the hits.
Yeah.
And I know quite a few that just fucking lied and faked it. And you can tell in how general they are in vegan. They're just kind of repeating what you see on Twitter.
Yeah.
I know for a fact they're faking it. And it's just like some of them, hey, I had to hustle and do that, man, just to kind of get out there and
Hmm.
get my name out there, whatever. Like, whoa. Even Chris Stugman admitted that long time ago. In his first few videos, he admitted that. And just to get the reach. So
Hmm.
I wonder how factual it is. Like some of them actually did get access to it because, again, if I'm Netflix, you're right. They need to get their shit together because one, your content's horror. You're known as that guy, who rankings
Hmm.
hard and all that stuff. You probably have done plenty of videos on Stranger Things before, so logistically, it makes sense to send it to you. So I'm curious what the fuck happened on their end, dude. So it's their
Yeah.
loss.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not the first time. It's not just Stranger Things. I can't remember. There was a recent example where I had this happen where I was requesting pretty passionately to get a hold of something. I don't remember what it was, but I remember I was pretty upset about not getting access to it because there was just no reason given. Like I'm fine if there's a reason. If I need to be a certain subscriber base, if I need to be a certain you have to have a certain amount of views per month or whatever, and I'm just not quite there yet, that gives me something to
Yeah,
strive towards. And
yeah, a
that's what
tier or
gives,
something. Yeah.
yeah, something that makes sense. I get it. But when it's just a flat out lie from a marketing firm, that's where I start to get really pissed off because I'm just like, okay, I'm like you said, I do this full time. Like you're literally fucking with my livelihood at that point. Like the
Hmm.
video that I will eventually put out after watching what is it? They're long as fuck episodes. It might take me until Monday or Tuesday to get through them.
Hmm.
Versus if I have access to it, I get my review out tonight. There's a huge difference in the views, a huge difference in the ad revenue in that.
Oh yeah.
And that's where it's to the point where it's personally this it's hard for me to get past because I'm like, I've done the fucking work. Like I'm
Hmm.
not Joe Blow. I'm not some guy that just started. I know I'm not entitled to anything, but if you're
Hmm.
handing it out, I sure as fuck should be on the list.
Hmm.
And that's where you get it's hard to be professional. It's hard to maintain that professionalism because you want to acknowledge the fact that it's a gift, it's a privilege to be able to get access to certain
Yeah.
things.
Hmm.
But when you're denied when other people aren't, it's hard to maintain that mindset. It's hard to not be personally insulted to the point where you want to flip the middle finger back at them.
Yeah.
And I've had it happen numerous times throughout my YouTube career. Luckily, it's in the minority. I get
Hmm.
access a lot more than I don't get access, but some of these companies seriously need to figure that shit out because I don't understand how more people aren't on the process that Disney and Amazon do to where once you have a working relationship with them, you don't have to re-up that constantly. As long as you don't fuck it up or fuck them over or
Yeah.
leak it or something like that would make you lose access. Like this constant like am I worthy, like it just doesn't make any sense to me, and
Yeah.
it strikes people's confidence, it strikes people's self-esteem. Like if you're a smaller channel trying to make it and you get denied for certain things, like I like, not hating on the small channels that got access. I wish I could get gotten access to Stranger Things season 2 or whatever back when I was at 2,000 subscribers, but there's got to be some kind of fucking benchmark. And when they're just throwing, you get one and you get one and you get one, and the
Hmm.
rest of you can fuck off.
Yeah. Maybe it's who they
I don't,
know. I don't know, but hey, well, maybe you can take this as like, hey, it didn't work out this time, but this is who I am. Remember, motherfuckers, and just
yeah.
let's not let this happen again. Like it's this little hiccup. just don't burn that bridge. Just kind of like, hey, this happened once, but let's kind of like keep this relationship going,
Hmm.
and maybe you'll get access to. I'm pretty sure you'll get access to other things moving forward. But yeah, I
Oh
think
yeah,
it's
no,
just a
for
slip up
sure.
on their
Yeah,
end because.
it's not an overarching problem. It's more so just an exclusive one for their show right now. But and I've seen others on Twitter too in our little circle of YouTube that get frustrated that
Mhm.
they've been denied something that I've been given access to. So I've been on the receiving end of that a couple of times where um I get access to something somebody else doesn't, and I'm like, well, of course I'm glad, but that doesn't make any fucking sense. And so it's a weird process, but
Yeah.
it's frustrating.
And for me, I'm definitely a lot smaller as far as like numbers on YouTube go. But I remember when I was really vested, not that I'm not vested, but I was really just trying to get those exclusives. I would, ask my other YouTube colleagues, like, "Hey, what do you do?" And I would often get a name or something, and I would message that person. But it was always who you knew. Like, yeah, I met this one guy, and this one guy gave me his email. It
Yeah.
wasn't like a form or submission process. It was just all on who you know, which I guess is the standard or the norm, with this type of industry. I don't know, but yeah, I agree with you, man. As YouTube definitely has an influence on that product, so it only makes sense as the owner of that product. Hey, we should send it out to these certain creators and
Hmm.
go from there. So yeah, that sucks, man. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Like I said, I'm bitching about a privilege. It's certainly it's white people problems, right? But but
Yeah.
but yeah, it is something that I've talked with enough content creators that have the same frustration, but nobody ever does anything for understandable reasons. Of course, whether we get fucked over or not, we know that Stranger Things or whatever it may be will be a nice little view or nice little video for that time or whatever. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I think this might be the one where I might just be like, no, see you next time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
gotta think on it a little bit more.
There you go. There you go, man. But I just want to not end before we. And I'm not going to end real quick, but real quick, I'll get to some comments in a bit. But I just want
Mm.
to thank Cody publicly for giving me some great advice. The venting video that I published right before this one a couple days ago, I was like, you put your heart and soul into videos, production's there, this and that, and you put it out there. I'm not gonna lie, like initially it didn't bother me, but like I said, looking back at the videos a couple years back, hey, did it ever pick up? Did there
Mhm.
ever any traction? And it never did. And like I said, it takes kind of the wind out of yourselves. Like, what's the point putting hours upon hours into a video to tell a story, and you pride yourself with research and After Effects and Premiere Pro, and
Mhm.
you put it out there, and it doesn't take hits. It does really affect your ambition. But I love the advice you gave me to any YouTubers that are aspiring out there. He says, well, make those high production videos like an annual or a quarterly thing, and
Mhm.
just do the other ones with not as much time vested, just kind of free up your plate. And I'm like, that makes fucking sense. So again, dude,
Mhm.
you helped me out, so
Yeah,
I
no problem.
appreciate that.
I've told my buddy CP that numerous times because he prides himself on the editing. That's kind of that's the
Yeah.
dick that he likes to swing around. Is like, look at my shit, looks better than all yours. And I'm like, yeah, but you spent 40 fucking hours on that video. And so I've told him that numerous times. I'm like, we know you're the editing guy. Swing
Yeah.
that dick a couple of times a month or a couple of times a year. But I got him to do the Friday the 13th tier list with me. I had to have him sell his soul along with me.
Oh
And
God, I saw that. Yeah,
yeah, and so I was talking back and forth with him, and I was like, "Dude, like you should do one with me. Like the Freddy one did really well. This one's probably gonna do even better." And he's like, I remember he sent me a voice message because he's having to take a little bit of time off of YouTube for medical reasons because of the stress that editing gives him. And so I'm like,
oh,
dude, this is a very stress-free thing. You just make the little tier. You talk about the franchise that I know you love, and you splice in footage doing here. It's very easy, and you'll get a lot of views for it. And he sent me back a voice message. He's like, is this going to be that thing where like I just move the little box over to here and then I give my reasons and then I move cause I can't do that. I gotta hype the production up a bit. And I'm like, you fucking pain in the ass. Just make an easy video.
I know, because again, I love editing too and storytelling. So sometimes
Mhm.
we just get caught up in that and forget about the actual narrative. So,
Yeah.
uh, Ryan, real quick before we go, he says, "Do I have to watch the OG before I see Maverick?" I think you do, based on
Um,
trailers. I mean, if you
I
want the
think it's the type of movie where you could be okay to watch it, but there's a lot more reward to the movie to watch the first one first. I would never recommend that.
yeah,
It's not a movie where there's a ton of plot threads, a ton of things that you'll be lost with. As long as you understand that Miles Teller is playing Goose's son, you're pretty much okay. But everything else about the movie is pretty straightforward. You know, it's not like going to see Multiverse of Madness without watching WandaVision. It's not one of those situations. But I would recommend watching the first one.
Nice. Yeah. I think it's going to hit me in the feels, you know, just seeing Admiral Kazansky on the wall, like, Val Kilmer, you know, Iceman. Don't spoil anything.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, but I'm going to check it out tomorrow. But yeah, dude, I think man, this is the longest live we've ever done. This is all going on 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Flew by. You feel good?
It did. Times flies when you're pitching.
Yeah, I feel good. I feel like, oh my God, I want to go to
What
the gym or
else we
something
mad
like that.
about? Let me fucking Google some shit.
So anything you got on your plate, man, that's going to be launching next couple days?
Well, I dropped my review today for Men, the newest Alex Garland A24 film. Again, I champion everybody watching it, making up their own mind, but the movie was the worst version of what I feared it could be.
Yeah.
So that's the new thing. Let's see here. I've got tomorrow pretty much free, and I wanted to start reviewing Jurassic Park films, but I'm also a little bit behind on preparing for 31 on 31. So I'm not going to promise. This weekend you will get a top 10 Tom Cruise video at some point.
Really?
I have to do that. Yeah, with the release of Top Gun. So that's for sure. Eventually, within the next week or so, I'm going to start reviewing the Jurassic Park films. I just don't know when to say because I haven't reviewed most of them, and I want to kind of build some of that excitement before Dominion comes out. Very excited for that.
Very cool.
Obviously, we're taking a break on Better Call Saul. So, yeah, top 10 Cruise and Jurassic Park at some point, and then we got 31 on 31 on Tuesday. So that's the big thing to advertise is on Tuesday. You've got that. Me, Sean Chandler, CP Might, and then Brian Lomax are all doing that one, the fantasy edition.
No, I will not be joining in on the 31-31. I believe it's 31 videos in 31 days. Is that how the format goes?
No, I'll talk to Rudy because I would like to include him on one of them. It was too late to include him on this one. It's something that me, CP, and Brian started to where I started it when Halloween 2018 came out, to where I ranked all of the Nightmare, Halloween, and Friday the 13th movies together as like this big ranking. And at the time, it was to celebrate that I had finished reviewing all 3 franchises. And then the marketing brain and CP is like, did you know that there's 31 of these movies and we're doing it on Halloween 31st? And so the name 31 on 31 was birthed. And then a year after that, we decided to do it again. So we did Psycho and Child's Play. And over time, it's become this little video series to where every year on Halloween, for sure, we do a horror themed one where we choose a theme. Last year, we did demon possession movies and stuff like that. 31 franchise films, and we rank them all on the 31st. But we've branched out and did an action one. We did a director showdown one with Tarantino and Fincher and Nolan. And here next week, we're doing fantasy films. So Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, and Star Wars, all ranking them against each other.
Damn,
so,
Narnia.
Never seen them before. I still have to watch those 3 movies, and I still have to watch Middle Earth by, well, not Tuesday, by at least Monday to get that video done.
Jeez. Well, real quick, everybody, the movie channel I still got some ideas that I'm brewing up. And again, the video that I made the other day is truly how I feel like. I just don't know what to talk about yet, rankings or just whatever. But I do have another channel. It's just called Rudy A. For those who don't know, I am, is it safe to say, Cody, TikTok famous? Is that it? Yeah, sure. Why not? I'm not. I don't think I am. But anyway.
You're TikTok recognizable.
There you go. I have almost 200K followers on TikTok, and I give relationship advice, dating advice. I have a lot of content here. You know, one video here, the biggest mistake men make on dating apps, qualities of women looking for. So anybody out there, I know we're totally going 180 here on topics here, but if you want to see another side of me, a lot of content here is flowing and it's moving really well. Go subscribe to there, and I'd appreciate that. But yeah, as far as video ideas, I got to come up with something, dude. Like I said, you saw the passion in me talking today. It's there, but it's like I'm like Doctor Strange cameos today, folks. Like I'm gonna go hang myself and all that shit. But anyway, no way, dude. But anyway, Cody, thank you, man.
No problem.
Was fun. This was a lot of fun. And everybody, thank you so much. If you haven't sub to both channels. I love the engagement. I love the comments. Thank you for the super chats. This is fun, and this is what I love. It's what it's all about. So good night, everybody. Take care.